Hey guys, this is Smithy. Welcome to my channel. If you guys are new here, welcome. And if you guys have already been subscribed to the channel, thank you so much for subscribing. Today's video is a super exciting one. Natasha Denona just released her Glam Palette in the market. And when she uploaded the swatches live on the Instagram, I was right there. Looking at the swatches and the palette, we're going to figure out whether you need this palette in your life or not. Or do you actually have it with you? So without further ado, let's dive right into the video. I'm not going to lie. When I saw the palette and the swatches, there are two palettes that popped up into my mind. One was Anastasia Beverly Hills Sultry Palette, and the second one is a more affordable option, and that was Milani Soft and Sultry Palette. I feel a lot of the shades can be absolutely dupe using these palettes. I am going to stick to Milani's Soft and Sultry Palette and e.l.f.'s Bite Size Palette, which is in the shade Cream and Sugar. If you guys don't know, the Glam Palette that she released was a midi palette with 15 shades in it, out of which 10 are shimmers and 5 are mattes. All of the party glam shimmer kind of a thing pops out of your mind as soon as you see that palette. But I don't think it's anything unique in the market. Now, if you are like a neutral lover and you don't have those shades or these palettes that I'm talking about, then of course, go ahead. If that palette like screams to you, go ahead and buy it. I think I have all the shades with me, so I'm going to stick to my guts. I am referring to her live swatches, trend mood swatches for my dupes. Now the shades are completely absurd to me. It's mentioned like center eyelid, outer eyelid, brow bone shade, crease shade and stuff. So yeah, we'll have to deal with it. I'll show you the swatches on the screen as well as the palette that I'm duping with. So I'm gonna go row by row, just the same way Natasha did on her live swatches in Instagram. The first shade is called the Center Eyelid shade, which she describes as a dusty rose shimmer, which has been duped by SBN from Jaclyn Hill's palette. The second shade is an outer eyelid shade, which is a gray-brown shimmer, which is being duped by Come Hither from Milani Soft and Sultry Palette. Now this palette is basically like a neutral palette leaning towards a cool tone palette, but she's definitely put a few pops of neutral warm shimmers in the palette so that it can be more versatile. The third shade in the palette is called Inner Corner, which she describes as a peachy champagne shimmer, which has been duped by e.l.f.'s Bite Size eyeshadow in the shade Cream and Sugar, and it is duped by the bronze shade in the palette. The next shade is called Crease. How innovative. This she describes as a medium taupe matte, which is being duped by Smoking Hot from Milani Soft and Sultry Palette. Now the last shade in that row is called the Transition, and this she describes as a mushroom gray matte, which is like a must-have in any cool toned palette. This is basically the shade that you dust all over the lid as soon as you're going to place any shadow. And this is being duped by Soft Touch from Milani Soft and Sultry Palette. Now for the second row, the first shade is called Smoke, which is a medium brown matte, and this is being duped by After Hours from Milani Soft and Sultry Palette. The next shade is called the Blend, which is a neutral flesh tone matte. If you want to take it in a neutral direction, or if you want to take the eyeshadows to like a warm direction, this is a very natural flesh tone shade, which is being duped by Tantation from Milani Soft and Sultry Palette. The next shade in the palette is called Lash Line, which is a cool tone deep brown matte, and this is being duped by the deep brown from the e.l.f.'s Cream and Sugar Bite Size Palette. The next shade in the palette is called Inner Corner, which she describes as an ivory silver metallic, and this is being duped by the Champagne shade in the Cream and Sugar palette. The last shade in this row is called Center Eyelid shade, and this she describes as a medium warm silver metallic. Now this was the only shade which I had to like dig into my collection to find a dupe of, but I really think that this is like an exact dupe, and this is being duped by Essence Melted Chrome eyeshadow in the shade 02 Ironic. Moving on to the last row, the first shade is called Center Eyelid, which she describes as a golden metallic. Now this is the warmest shade in her palette, which is being duped by Queen from the Jaclyn Hill's palette. The second shade in this row is called the Outer Eyelid shade, and this is being described as a deep warm brown metallic, and this is being duped by Foxy Lady from Milani Soft and Sultry Palette. The next shade in the palette is called Center Eyelid, which she describes as a champagne light nude shimmer, This is like the glam shimmer shade in the whole palette. If you are going for like a glam night out kind of a situation, this is like a must-have shade in the palette. And this has been duped by Obsessed from the Jaclyn Hills palette. The next shade in the palette is called Outer Eyelid Shade, which she describes as a deep, warm grey-brown shade, which is being duped by Sweeter Than Chocolate from Milani Soft Sultry Palette. The last shade in the palette is called Brow Bone Shade, which is the highlighter shade in the palette, as she said, and it is a warm ivory gold shade. This is being duped by Diamonds and Pearls from Milani Soft Sultry Palette. And that was our row number 3. Before ending this video, I've also included this eye look that I created with all the dupes that I mentioned. I really hope that you like it. But without further ado, let's dive into the tutorial.
Out of all the things to say to you, you're my girl and you should know that I love you more than anything, and I'll never let you go. 1,000 years could never change the way I feel about our love in this moment. Oh no. 'Cause I will always love you from beginning till the end. And if I had the chance, I would do it all again. And I will never leave you, even in the tougher days. I'll just hold you tighter, 'cause baby, nothing's gonna change the way I feel about our love in this moment. This moment is our love forevermore. Love forevermore. And if you're miles and miles away from me, let me leave you with this word, that I love you more than anything, more than anything you've heard. 1,000 miles could never change the way I feel about our love in this moment. Oh, yes, I will always love you from beginning till the end. And if I had the chance,
I really hope that you enjoyed this video and it gives you an inspiration to check out your stash before jumping into the bandwagon and getting the eyeshadow palette. By no means am I saying that you should not buy the eyeshadow. If you are interested in those neutral, cool toned shades, I think it's an amazing palette that has been curated. But if you guys have like the AB8 Sultry palette, Milani Soft and Sultry palette, you majorly have a lot of shades already in your hand. So that was the gist of my video. Now you decide for yourself whether you need. But if you guys are new here, please do subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and also ring that notification bell so that you're notified every time that I'm posting next. I generally upload every Tuesdays, Thursdays and Saturdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But until next time, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!